the name of the Holy and Undivided Trinity, one God. There is a wonderful phrase in German that describes a state of humanity that all of us experience from time to time. In German, it's "Ich habe keine Sprechstunde," and it literally translates to "I don't have office hours." It means, as you might gather, not available right now. And it is what exasperated parents say to their children, not that I don't know anything about this, who are interrogating them about God only knows what before they've had their first cup of coffee. There are times for all of us when we are peopled out, when we need to stare at the wall and not accept any more cognitive input. There are times when we simply need a break. And Jesus is having one of those moments in today's gospel. He is far from home, in the region of Tyre and Sidon, aka Gentile country, and we are told he enters a house, doesn't want anyone to know he's there, but cannot escape notice. As a parent and a priest, I know the feeling, intimately. It's the feeling you get when you're going grocery shopping in your pajamas and you run into a curious colleague or parishioner who scrutinizes everything in your cart and offers judging opinions on your snack purchases. You all are actually great about this, but I could not go to Trader Joe's in California without this happening. Crazy. It's the feeling you get when you're trying to get your child dressed, but they decide that the most fascinating thing in the world is your teeth. And they keep trying to pry your mouth open so that they can give you a full dental exam. Tell me it's not just me. And the space keeps coming back. You think you're done, and it's like, oh no, teeth again. I don't get it. But we all know this feeling. Sometimes we are so overtired, or overwhelmed, overstimulated that we simply cannot anymore. And God help the next person to cross our path, because they are not going to get the best version of ourselves. I honestly think that is what's going on in this disturbing encounter between Jesus and the Syrophoenician woman. Jesus needed a break, didn't get one, and we're seeing Jesus on the verge of burnout. Jesus not his best self. After all, if we truly believe that Jesus was fully human, it stands to reason that he, too, dealt with exhaustion and overwhelm. So today, I want to explore this unpleasant, but very normal dimension of our shared humanity. Burnout, overwhelm, the growing sense that it, whatever it is just too much for us to handle. What do we do when this feeling creeps up on us? How do we intervene early so that we do not put our feet in our mouths, as Jesus did with this poor woman? What if we read this gospel as a cautionary tale of what can happen when we are on the verge of exceeding our capacity, and a roadmap for how to have compassion with ourselves when we inevitably push ourselves too far? I would suggest that a place to start is to take the advice of my German forebears and make sure that we give ourselves time when we don't have office hours, when we are not available for the needs of others. And believe me, I know that this is easier said than done. So my advice is to start small and concrete. Maybe it looks like putting your phone in do not disturb mode for a while, or even, I know, radical, turning it off altogether. 10 minutes! Guys, it doesn't have to be a lot. Maybe it looks like actually taking your days off, instead of allowing them to pile up endlessly. Maybe it looks like alternating childcare with another human, so that you have an hour when you're not being used as a human jungle gym. The pandemic was not kind to us in this regard. Many of us got used to needing to be available all the time, whether because we started checking our work email at home at all hours, or because we found ourselves supervising our children's remote education while also checking our work email at all hours. And we can live like that for a while. But when that state of constant availability normal, then we really start having problems. Then we may notice that we start behaving more and more like Jesus in today's gospel, snapping impatiently at people who have the audacity to ask us for things, and not behaving like the selves we want to be. We quickly start to feel uncomfortable in our own skin, like the most hostile version of ourselves has taken over within, and like we are powerless to break the cycle. We are not powerless, friends. God does not call us to burnout. God does not want us to live as exhausted husks of our true selves. And God's invitation to us is to find whatever way we can to create even the tiniest sliver of space so that we can come face to face with our Creator and allow the grace of the divine to restore us to our full humanity. We see that process at work in our gospel today as well. Jesus starts out a complete grouch, but the Syrophoenician woman persists, politely but insistently. And something about this encounter cracks Jesus open, lets him see the humanity of the person in front of him, and shifts his stance from a mindset of scarcity to one of abundance. It doesn't have to take much to knock us out of a state of overwhelmed panic, because God is always waiting in the wings, pointing towards a new way forward, a way of compassion both for ourselves and those around us. It does not have to be mutually exclusive. So I wonder how the story might have played out differently if Jesus had been able to get the break he apparently so desperately needed. How might he have engaged this woman if he had had a full night's sleep and a break from the relentless needs of his community? And then, well, you probably already know what's coming. I invite us to ask ourselves how we might live our lives differently if we had access to the rest that we crave. This question isn't meant to depress you by imagining some Edenic version of life that is completely inaccessible and can never become a reality. My hope is that especially as we enter the most intense stage of this incredibly contentious and stressful election cycle, that we can all take the time we need to get clear on what we need. Not just to survive in this life, but to thrive in it. If you've been close reading your bulletin, you may recognize that catchphrase as the title of our fall formation series. Hint, hint, mark your calendars. We'll be talking a lot more about this very thing. So friends, you have some homework this week. First and foremost, pay attention. Pay attention to those moments when you find yourself snapping impatiently at someone else or at yourself. Pause and notice and try not to judge. I know, it's hard. Ask yourself what you need to get back to equilibrium. And then make a plan for how to take the first steps to get there. Don't try to solve all the problems of humanity in one morning. Start with carving out 5 minutes for prayer or reflection or silence or staring at a wall, whatever you need. Take a walk, drink a glass of water. Truthfully, any of those things could be the difference between having a calm, rational conversation and calling someone a dog. It's not about perfection, friends. It's about allowing God to meet us in the beautiful, holy imperfection of our humanity and reminding us that whatever we are dealing with, we are never in it alone. Amen. Amen.